Hi, everybody. I hope that you're doing well today. So, this is just kind of an introduction to get you guys thinking maybe about some things. Um, Maybe you've already thought about things this way, maybe you haven't, but in understanding the prophetic timeline and understanding the whys of the prophetic timeline, people argue about whether we'll be here for certain things or what if the rapture exists or if it doesn't exist or when it's going to happen, who it impacts, whether or not it's partial, things like this. All of that discussion fails to consider one hugely important topic, one hugely important underlying factor, and that is the love of God and the corresponding grace of God. Even in the 70th week, his grace is evident until a specific point in time where it cannot apply any longer. And even then, it's still the implications of that lack of grace only impact targeted audiences. I'm going to discuss all of this later. I'm just kind of previewing it right now, but when we have these conversations about who, what, where, when, why, how, we must account for the loving nature of God. We must account for the gracious nature of God. Because when you absent those things from the conversation, you allow these other possibilities to cloud your vision. God is one way, and as a result of him being that certain way, there is only one course of action possible. So when we consider the broad subject of prophecy, we must narrow our understanding based upon the character of God. And in order to do that, you have to understand the character of God. When you do that, and when you apply that understanding to your study of Bible prophecy, and you use that foundation for your research, you come to understand as you read through and logically reason through these things, taking all of the emotionality out of it, things must be a certain way for a specific reason. There are no plan Bs. There are no what if scenarios. There are no, well, it could be this way. It is this way and only this way for this specific reason. And you understand significantly more about the why portion of that when you understand the character of God. He is not going to do specific things because of who he is. And yet, on the flip side, he will do specific things because of who he is. But these are all very narrow and very limited in scope. There are no other potentialities because that would be outside of God's character. So I'm going to start this conversation with understanding God's love. This was when I started my research from the ground up. This was the first concept that I asked him to make clear to me, was the concept of his love. And this is not feelings based. And this is where so many people get tripped up, is thinking that the concept of agape love is a feeling, and it is not. So I'm going to be here later to explain this. I'm going to read significant portions from my book that I wrote about this in, which was A Power of Love of a Sound Mind, taken specifically from 2 Timothy 1:7, which says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." It's the facts don't care about your feelings. It's the ultimate mind over matter, logic over emotion. When you can remove your subjectivity from this equation and look at it from an objective viewpoint, which requires you to know your God, you understand that things can only be one specific way because you understand why they must be that way. I'll see you guys later.